What's going on, everyone? This is Dalton at Daltonians TFs, and welcome back to Cartoon Mondays. As you can see, we're taking a look at Darkwing Duck. Yes, the terror that flaps in the night, the coffee stain of justice that lays on your suit of criminal intentions. Darkwing Duck, yes. The show started in 1991, went from 1992, and it took place in the fictional city, of course, of St. Canard. And it's a spin-off of DuckTales, which I did a video of that, but it's best not to watch it because it didn't do so well. So, watch at your own risk. As far as, characters, we'll start off with our main good, heroes, being, of course, Darkwing Duck. He is voiced by Jim Cummings, and as far as a personality, he is egotistical, he's arrogant, but he's also on, 100% do-gooder. He's the hero. And he's kind of an analog to Batman as far as the way he looks, the way he acts, except for the selfish part. And, we first get introduced to him. He's taking criminals to jail, kind of bored for him. He just throws them into the front desk, and here you go, walks out. He's getting tired of just catching, typical criminals, bank robbers, and people like that. And, later on in that episode, we meet Launchpad McQuack, who has come from DuckTales to Darkwing Duck. He's no longer working for Scrooge McDuck, and he is a self-proclaimed biggest fan of Darkwing. And he decided to become his sidekick, his partner, his, buddy, and flies Darkwing's jet for him, which we all know Launchpad, he can't land without crashing. So there's that, and, he's also usually seen in Darkwing's sidecar on his motorcycle. Alright, so then we're introduced to Goslin Waddlemeyer, who is the granddaughter of a scientist, and that plays part of the first episode. Anyway, she is your 9-year-old, hyperactive, she wants to be the center of attention kind of type. And again, she's also a big fan of Darkwing Duck. So when she gets adopted, she is excited. She's finally happy to be part of a family. And, then she becomes part of all of these adventures that Darkwing goes on, and it just goes on from there. And as far as allies go, you've got the Agents of Shush, which is kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D., led by Jay Gander, who he's the director. Then you've got the secondary person being Vladimir Grizzlekopf, a Russian grizzly bear, who is by the book. You have to fill out request forms, you have to follow protocol a certain way, and that's one reason why he absolutely hates Darkwing, is because Darkwing has no regard for protocol whatsoever. And as far as any other agents, there's none too specific. There are a few that pop up here and there. Again, I'm not going to go over every single character because that's going to take up a lot of time, and I don't think you want to watch a hour-and-a-half long show of me going every single character. So then we go into some more allies, being, we get Gizmo Duck again. We've got Stegma, which was, a duck scientist turned Stegosaurus. Kind of weird there. Then you get Neptunia. She's a little fish, she's kind of like Aquaman. She's a little fish thing that can control other fish. And then you get Morgana. She's a sorceress who falls in love with Darkwing, and of course, like most sorcerers and magic. And as far as villains go, you've got the Fearsome Five. We'll start off with the leader being Negaduck. He is the polar opposite to Darkwing. Anything good or nice, he's a sociopath. So he will go after that. He will kill it. Like you say, puppies. He chainsaw or bazooka gun, whatever it is, he tries to destroy it. And he even goes to the point to where he will kill his own members of the Fearsome Five to have all the money or glory to himself. And we get into some other characters being like Negaduck. He's kind of like the Joker in the fact that he's, dressed up as a jester rather than, a clown. But, he controls, or he has a bunch of toys that he makes into weapons, and former toy maker, gone nuts, so, yeah. And you get Megavolt, who is a lot like Electro, in the fact that, he can control electricity and anything that has to do with electricity, even some really bad puns. Same with Quackerjack. But instead of Megavolt being made up of electricity and having it within his body, he has to wear a suit. So kind of like Hard Drive in SWAT Cats, if you guys remember watching that video. And you've got Dr. Bushfruit, who kind of the loser duck scientist, who then kind of follows the same incident as Dr. Viper. He gets hit with a chemical that turns him into half plant instead of half reptile. But basically the same kind of premise. As far as other villains, you've got the Agents of Foul being, the High Command, which you never really get to see, you just see their silhouettes. And Steelbeak, who is, leader of his own little group of goons, which we'll get into later. But with Steelbeak, he's kind of your 1920s kind of, gangster. He's got a literal metal beak, so he's kind of like Jaws from the James Bond movies. And he controls, is the leader of a group of Eggmen, which are basically your foot soldiers. And then you get Ammonia Pine, and she is absolutely obsessed with cleaning. If it's a crime, it has, like stealing money, she uses a vacuum to suck up all the money out of the vault. Or she'll flood an area to clean it of the citizens so she can do her crime. And then clean up afterwards. And she's got a sister who's, the polar opposite of that. But that's not really one of the more important ones. And as far as my favorite episode goes, I'll have to say that there's two that are my favorite. There's Time and Punishment, and there is The Secret Origins of Darkwing Duck. I really suggest watching those two. If you want, you can watch the whole series from beginning to end, but those two are my favorites. If you haven't seen them, you can go ahead and watch them. So there's that. And as far as, media goes, you have a few VHS tapes that came out, not all the episodes, but a few here and there throughout the series. You got 2 DVDs, possibly 3 if I remember correctly, that have, the full series, which 97 episodes, that's a lot of episodes of Darkwing Duck, so you can do that. We also got the video games, which there were 2 versions of. There was the NES version, and you've got the Game Boy version, so we got that covered. Then he's made some appearance in comic books, self-titled comic books and whatnot. And he made a few appearances in other shows. He's appeared on Bonkers, he's appeared on Aladdin when Genie turned into Darkwing for, to say his famous quote, which we all know is, "Let's get dangerous." His quote came up, it's just one of those things, like, every time Launchpad will say, "Well, gee, DW, that sounds really dangerous." He's like, "Well then, let's get dangerous." So there's that. As far as the theme song goes, I really like it. It's really catchy. It sums up the satirical nature of the show, and I like it. Then you've got the toys that came out. You got toys that came out being, you've got action figures of some of the characters. You've got, a big Darkwing Duck figure, kind of like the Big Blue from Tailspin. You've got, Darkwing Duck's jet. You've got the gas gun, and just all those. And recently we've been rumored to have a new Darkwing Duck to coincide with the new DuckTales. I don't know how that's going to work. But in this day and age, I can kind of see it working. I mean, I don't know, I think the 90s was the best time to have some of these cartoons, to be honest. But some of them, like SWAT Cats and Tailspin, I can see kind of being remade either in an animated movie or a mini-series. As far as a new series, you'd have to get some really good toys in there again. So something kind of like what the Ninja Turtles has done. Except, more vehicles, have the characters interact with those vehicles, accessories, stuff like that would really help the toy line for, a new series. As far as my opinion, I think it's one of the best duck-related, Disney cartoons. Mighty Ducks is kind of close, but a lot of people aren't a fan of the Mighty Ducks, and that might be a future video that I do, but I'm not quite sure yet. I don't know. We'll get to that bridge when we get to it. Or we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. There we go. But I want you guys to know, I want to know what you guys think. Did you like Darkwing Duck? How much did you like it? How much do you remember from your childhood just watching it in the mornings on, Disney Channel, Toon Disney, Disney Afternoon, whatever it was on I watched it on Toon Disney when I was a kid, you know, being in the late 90s. But, you know, I liked it. I still love it. It's great. And, yeah, so let me know what you think. Just put it down in the comments below. And that pretty much does it for this episode of Cartoon Mondays. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe, leave a like, and a comment. So like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think. And that pretty much does it for this episode. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. So, remember, let's get dangerous. I also forgot to mention that there is a villain named the Liquidator. He's part of the Fearsome Five. He is basically your salesman type of character as far as how he talks, his mannerisms, and he can control and is made up of liquid if he, you know, basically water. If he gets into a larger body of water, he'll absorb it and become larger, so there's that. You didn't see the text? That means the show's over. But why are you still watching it? The show's over. Why are you watching? What? Why are you still watching if it's over? Show's over. It'll be on again next month. See ya.